Hi, I'm Kristen Proctor, and I'm doing my book talk on Number the Stars by Lois Lowry. It's a book talk that's intended for upper elementary age students around 4th or 5th grade. And I'm going to start off by reading an excerpt from Chapter 9, which is about halfway through the book, and the chapter is entitled, Why Are You Lying? Anne-Marie leaned against the ancient splintery wood of the barn wall and listened to the sharp, rattling sound of the streams of milk as they hit the sides of the bucket. Uncle Henrik glanced over at her and smiled without pausing in the rhythm of milking. He didn't say anything. Through the barn windows, the pinkish light of sunset fell in irregular shapes upon the stacked hay. Flecks of dust and straw floated there in the light. Uncle Henrik, Anne-Marie said suddenly, her voice cold, you are lying to me. You and Mama both. His strong hands continued, deftly pressing like a pulse against the cow. The steady streams of milk still came. He looked at her again, his deep blue eyes kind and questioning. You are angry, he said. Yes, Mama has never lied to me before, never. But I know there is no Great Aunt Bert. Never once in all the stories I've heard and all the old pictures I've seen has there been a Great Aunt Bert. Uncle Henrik sighed. Blossom looked back at him as if to say, almost done, and indeed the streams of milk lessened and slowed. He tugged at the cow gently but firmly, pulling down the last of the milk. Finally he set the bucket aside and washed the cow's udder with a clean, damp cloth. Then he lifted the bucket to a shelf and covered it. He rubbed the cow's neck affectionately. At last he turned to Anne-Marie as he wiped his own hands with the cloth. How brave are you, little Anne-Marie? He asked suddenly. She was startled and dismayed. It was a question she did not want to be asked. When she asked it of herself, she didn't like her own answer. Not very, she confessed, looking at the floor of the barn. Tall Uncle Henrik knelt before her so that his face was level with hers. Behind him, Blossom lowered her head, grasped a mouthful of hay in her mouth, and drew it in with her tongue. I think that is not true, Uncle Henrik said. I think you are like your mama, and like your papa, and like me. Frightened, but determined. And if the time came to be brave, I am quite sure you would be very, very brave. But, he added, it is much easier to be brave if you do not know everything. And so your mama does not know everything. Neither do I. We know only what we need to know. Do you understand what I'm saying? He asked, looking into her eyes. Anne-Marie frowned. She wasn't sure. What did bravery mean? She had been very frightened the day, not long ago, though now it seemed far in the past, when the soldier had stopped her on the street and asked questions in his rough voice. And she had not known everything then. She had not known that the Germans were going to take away the Jews. And so, when the soldier asked, looking at Ellen that day, what is your friend's name? She had been able to answer him, even though she was frightened. If she had known everything, it would not have been so easy to be brave. She began to understand just a little. Yes, she said to Uncle Henrik, I think I understand. You guessed correctly, he told her. There is no Great Aunt Bert, and never has been. Your mama lied to you, and so did I. We did so, he explained, to help you to be brave because we love you. Will you forgive us for that? Anne-Marie nodded. She felt older suddenly. And I am not going to tell you any more, not now, for the same reason. Do you understand? Anne-Marie nodded again. Suddenly, there was a noise outside. Uncle Henrik's shoulders stiffened. He rose quickly, went to the window of the barn, stood in the shadows, and looked out. Then he turned back to Anne-Marie. It is the hearse, he said. It is Great Aunt Bert who never was. He smiled wryly. So, my little friend, it is time for the night of mourning to begin. Are you ready? Anne-Marie took her uncle's hand, and he led her from the barn. What does it mean to be brave? In the passage I just read, Uncle Henrik asks our young 11-year-old main character, Anne-Marie Johansson, if she is brave. And she responds no, that she isn't brave. But Uncle Henrik doesn't believe her. He thinks that she has courage buried deep inside her, and that it will come out when she most needs it. Number the Stars is a story about courage and doing the right thing even when it's really scary. It's a historical fiction story set in Denmark during World War II. at a time when a group of people called the Nazis were arresting and killing anyone who wasn't like them, especially people who were Jewish. Anne-Marie's best friend Ellen happens to be Jewish, and throughout the story, Anne-Marie and her family have to find courage to help the Rosen family during this very difficult time. This story is filled with lots of action, great moments of suspense, moments of love and kindness. There's secret getaways, there's disguises, and even a little bit of mystery thrown in. I mean, if there is no Great Aunt Bert, who's in that hearse?